Remember this moment during the 2021 US Open final? We all love these crazy stories, unexpected wins, and blasts from the past, don't we? As tennis fans, these are the moments that draw us to our favorite players. And Emma Raducanu's 2021 US Open title run was one of the wildest tournament runs you would ever see in tennis history. While Raducanu took the world by storm at the time, Leylah Fernandez was left with the consolation prize of a runner-up finish. But even though Leylah's run was honestly just as impressive as Raducanu's, it seemed to get overlooked in the grand scheme of things. She didn't get nearly as much attention and fame as her contemporary. Well, it's been over 3 years since then. I know, right, 3 years, and most of the talk has been about the bottlenecks Emma has had to deal with since becoming a star. Tennis fans have tried connecting the dots, and there have been a lot of conflicting opinions on why Raducanu hasn't come anywhere close to replicating her 2021 success. But what about Fernandez? What has she been up to since then? Has her luck actually been better than Emma's, and is she positioned to make another big splash like she once did? It's time we talked about Leylah Fernandez because she's silently becoming a real problem for the best players on the WTA Tour, and I have every reason to believe that the best of Leylah Fernandez is yet to come.
I see the progress, I just gotta keep working hard and I just gotta keep going in the path that I'm going.
Okay, so we all know about Raducanu's US Open run and how she went from like 150 in the world to just outside the top 20 with her fairy tale title run. She came through qualies and beat 10 players, all in straight sets. But as crazy as that was, I'd like to think that Leylah's run was even more impressive because of the caliber of opponents she had to go through. Leylah took down 3 top 5 players, including the defending champion Naomi Osaka, to also emerge as an unlikely finalist. In the 3rd and 4th rounds, she had a come-from-behind win against former world number 1's Naomi Osaka
7-6-6-4. They're giving it up for Leylah Fernandez.
And Angelique Kerber.
Perfect birthday present. A place in her very first Grand Slam quarterfinal.
Leylah's quarterfinal match against world number 5 Alina Svitolina and the semis against world number 2 Sabalenka also went the distance, and Fernandez won a tiebreak in all 4 of those matches. You just had the feeling that there just wasn't much left in the tank by the time she got to the final. Although she lost to Raducanu in straight sets, the match was a lot closer than what we saw on the scoreboard. There were numerous breakpoint opportunities for both players, and there were wild swings in the momentum, until Raducanu had to take a medical timeout because of an injury. Some fans complained about Leylah's reaction to Emma taking a medical timeout, but I could see where it was coming from. Raducanu was a set and a break up in the 2nd set and held championship points at 5-2. However, Fernandez was plotting a comeback. She managed to hold serve after saving 2 match points against her, and she then held a break point while Emma was bleeding from her leg. With the momentum on Leylah's side, Emma called for a medical timeout after bruising her knee on the previous point.
It's like she's not quite sure if she should be treated right now or not.
As you could imagine, Leylah then wasn't too happy and she complained to the umpire.
Fernandez is arguing at some point right in front of her opponent.
To make a long story short, Leylah got impatient in the next rally and Emma managed to eventually seal the deal. The pressure might have gotten to Leylah as she felt her rhythm was being disrupted. Who knows how that match would have panned out if it went the distance? Leylah might have lost a few fans at the time because of that reaction, but it's such a long time ago and I doubt if anyone still looks at her at all in that light. Since that fairy tale run in New York, many fans have been attempting to guess and wonder just what went wrong with Leylah's game. But the truth is, nothing went wrong, and I'll tell you why. But before I do that, be sure to smash that subscribe button if you love what we're doing here at Courtside Tennis. Thank you very much. Okay, so how often do you see 2 18-year-olds duking it out for the biggest prize in tennis? It almost never happens. So that's why when we saw the phenomenal runs that Leylah and Emma had to the US Open final, they both came with a lot of unrealistic expectations. Both players were still in the early development phases of their careers, and the saddest part is that many of us fans decided to make projections based off that single random run in New York. When you look at Leylah's trajectory since 2021, you'll notice that the improvements have been gradual. She's accumulating more ranking points each year and finishing higher up at the end of the season. She's ending 2024 just outside the top 30. On top of that, she's won a handful of titles in recent years, and we've seen her take down top players like Zheng Qinwen, Rybakina, and Krejcikova in recent months. But apart from reaching the quarterfinals in the French Open in 2022, Fernandez has only managed to make it past the second round once at Grand Slams, which means that she's really struggled to replicate her best performances on the biggest stage. Why is that though? I'm sure we'll find some answers when we look closely into her game. Before we begin with the ins and outs of Leylah's game, let me first tell you how you can get the most out of your game. SuckerPunch is the best hydration product that I've used to help my recovery on court. Each shooter is packed with magnesium, calcium, and potassium, all the key nutrients you need to keep your performance high level and prevent cramps. We all know how painful they can be. SuckerPunch is all natural and has no sugar added, so there's no crash either if you're on court for a while. And the best part, if you order using my code Courtside-Punch at checkout, you'll receive 25% off your order. It's literally a no-brainer if you're looking to improve your performance on court. Anyways, back to the video. Starting with the serve. As it is with a bunch of players on the WTA Tour, Leylah's serve used to be, and still might be, one of her biggest weaknesses. It's not like it's a disaster or something. I mean, the rhythm is great, she starts off with a wide base and most of the weight on the front foot before getting that rock back for more explosiveness. On top of that, Leylah gets a lot of height on the jump to help her open up more angles. The problem with the serve hasn't necessarily been due to placement or picking her spots. Rather, it seems to be the consistency and pace that just seem to fall short of what she would have been expecting. In the end, the result is that she gets hurt off the return a lot. Leylah's average first serve speed at the US Open this year was 92 miles per hour, and the second serve barely reached 80 miles per hour. And you can see the win percentages behind the serves here. It goes without saying that even when you're a few inches from the line on your serve, if you don't hit hard enough, your opponent is always going to have a chance. Being only 5'6", it's kind of expected. Leylah also dealt with a nagging shoulder injury at some point earlier in the year that didn't help either. But being a lefty means that you'll always have the chance to make life uncomfortable for your opponents off the serve, and that's something that Leylah is still getting better at. She sometimes goes for the lefty slice serve out wide to drag the other player out of position before finishing it off with a destructive +1. But for all the hard work she's putting in to get the most out of her serve, it just isn't a weapon that she can use a lot to get free points, and the implication is that there might be a hard cap on her ceiling. This is further shown by the fact that Leylah is currently in the top 10 for most double faults among top 50 players over the past 52 weeks. It wouldn't have mattered as much if she was also getting a lot of aces. However, as we can see here, she also has one of the lowest ace rates among those with the most double faults, which is something that can get a lot better. I have no doubt about that because we've also seen former world #1s with a similar height cranking up the heat on the serve and the ground strokes. I'm talking about players like Ash Barty and Justine Henin. They didn't have the biggest frames, but they managed to max out on their serve. Barty was able to clock 115 miles per hour on her serve, and it's crazy to think that she was in the top 4 in most aces hit in 2018, and was second in percentage of service points won that year. For a 5'7" player, that's insane. But then, it also goes to show that you can be a lot shorter than most of your contemporaries and still have a really good serve. When it comes to the return, Leylah has an underrated return of serve that can put you in a disadvantageous position by the third shot of the rally. Fernandez's reaction is brilliant and has been a problem for many of her opponents. I especially love her ability to redirect shots. It's incredible. The latest example that comes to mind is this particular rally against Diana Schneider in Hong Kong.
But again,
Leylah works with spins and can also hit with a lot of depth when she needs to. If you followed her game closely, you would also realize that she hugs the baseline, has quick reactions, and loves to take the ball early. So much so that it's become a problem when she sometimes tries to take big serves from a meter inside the baseline. On those few occasions, you would wish she backs off a bit to give herself a better chance at getting a return into play, or at least so she can use her speed to her advantage, almost like Kasatkina does. One of the things I love about Fernandez's game is the fact that her ball striking and shot making is immaculate. The forehand is awesome, the backhand is decent, and the footwork and movement is S tier. The counterpunching skills are also up there, and on top of that, she brings a lot of variety with her game. Still, I don't consider any of these things to be her biggest assets. For me, it's definitely her mentality. Leylah's got that dog in her, and it's one of the many reasons I think we're yet to see the best of her. I follow WTA matches a lot, and trust me, Leylah's mentality on the court needs to be studied. Her self-belief and body language are compelling to say the least. As soon as it's business time, you see her walking around the court like she's about to enter the octagon for a UFC fight. Always pumped, always ready to swing. Seeing how she tracks down every ball and the fact that she's such a fighter makes you appreciate her even more. Fernandez may not be the tallest or strongest, but she's a mental giant, as we've come to know. She and her family sacrificed a lot for her tennis career. Leylah's father is a former Ecuadorian soccer player who didn't know all that much about tennis before eventually becoming her coach. Her mother is Filipino. Both parents migrated to Canada in search of better opportunities before they moved again to Florida so Leylah could train all year round. Growing up, Leylah's school teacher told her she would never make it as a tennis player. Even when she got cut from a provincial development team as a junior, it didn't stop her from reaching her goals. Here's what Leylah's father and coach Jorge Fernandez says about her mental resilience.
I think that initial, quote unquote traumatic experience for a dream that she had as a little girl really set her on a path of belief and confidence. And every time somebody said no or put obstacles, it was just her and I would always tell her, don't let nobody or nothing tell you what you should dream about. I've always told her in the training ground, you're going to meet somebody that's going to be 3 times bigger than you are. So you better believe in yourself.
In 2019, Leylah was #1 in juniors and she turned pro that same year. It's been 5 years since then, and now she's bagged 3 WTA titles, reached a Grand Slam final, helped Canada to the Billie Jean King Cup, and reached a career high of #13 in the world. For a 22-year-old, that's incredible, especially considering how competitive the WTA Tour has become. There's so much parity now that even the top players aren't really having an easy go of it. And if you're looking for more WTA coverage, definitely check out our newsletter where we cover the tournaments week to week. If you haven't seen it already, the link's in the description. As far as predictions go, I'd say that Leylah's trajectory is looking pretty good. There's been steady and consistent growth over the past 3 years. When she and Raducanu reached the final in New York, there were a lot of comparisons on who would go on to be the better tennis player. Now, they were both relatively unknown before the 2021 US Open. Emma was world number 150, and Leylah was outside the top 70. Both were unseeded teenagers thrust onto the biggest stage in the sport before their careers even fully got going. 3 years down the line, it's the finalist rather than the champion who has the better results to show so far, although Raducanu has dealt with a lot more injuries. Leylah might be outmatched in the power department and might struggle against big hitters, but she knows how to play smart tennis. Knowing she doesn't have the biggest weapons, she steps on the court with the mindset that she's gonna be expecting adversity. And when it does come, she embraces it and finds a way to go through matches even when she's not in the zone. Fernandez lost a lot of tight matches in the past, and with a little more luck, she could have flipped the narrative. It just happened to be that she didn't have that extra weapon to get over the hump in those tight matches. So far, Leylah has managed the ups and downs in her career superbly, and she knows she's very much a work in progress. With little improvements here and there, I think she has the ability to become a top 10, top 15 player on a consistent basis, with occasional wins against the top 5. Her ceiling might even be higher, who knows? Will she ever win a slam or become a multiple slam winner at some point in her career? I don't know, it's almost impossible to say. Our sport can be very unpredictable, so putting a cap or a limit on a player is usually not the best thing to do. But as you probably already know, Leylah will always have that chip on her back because of the US Open run, and this is something she already knows, which is why she looks past the negative comments on social media.
The very first time I read a negative comment, I couldn't accept someone writes such a mean message to a person that they don't even know what they've been going through, the trainings that they had to go through. But every time there's a negative comment or I see a negative comment, I sometimes laugh. Like it's funny. Like I try to put a smile on my face. I try to imagine oh, so that happened. Okay, let me use that as fuel. It gives an extra wood in the fire, and it kind of wants me to prove that person wrong.
Being a quick study on the court, the immediate goal for Leylah come the new season is clear. Bump up the serve, add more weight behind the ground strokes, maximize your strengths, and minimize your weaknesses on grass and clay. Try to string a series of decent results together to help build more momentum and confidence. Easy to say, right? Pointing out the problem is often much easier than fixing it, and that's why we have to give even more credit to these players who are working on their games week in and week out. Speaking of criticisms, here's how Leylah handles all the negative talk.
We've had actually this one rule to never ever read an article about myself. I think the biggest one was I'm too short, not fast enough, not strong enough, not powerful enough, and that my tennis game, my style of game, will not work against bigger players. just hearing that has always fueled me, but not just me, but also like my family around me. Like, you know, like whatever those people are saying, just take it and we're gonna prove them wrong.
The good news is that it's still early days and Fernandez hasn't peaked yet. Her Grand Slam results might not have been impressive for her standards, and you might have been frustrated at the lack of consistency at times, because sometimes you see her perform well in one tournament, but then it doesn't always carry over to the next. I wouldn't be surprised if 2025 came with a different Leylah Fernandez from the one you've been used to seeing. She's a special player to watch, and along with the other Canadians, Bianca Andreescu, Felix Auger-Aliassime, Chapo and co., a statement title win or Grand Slam run would be the best way to silence the doubters. But what are your thoughts on Leylah Fernandez and our other favorite Canadian players? What do you make of her game, her dad coaching, and her potential as a top player? Let me know what you think. And if you'd like to see deep dives on any other players on the men's or women's tour, be sure to let me know.